Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are watching this, good that time of day. I hope you're all doing well, and this is the video today. So remember, you're going to watch this video. There's going to be a quizzes linked in the description. You can also find that in the Google Classroom. You can email me if you have questions or if you have trouble. Today, we're going over angles because we did a quizzes on this 2 weeks ago now, Unit 3 review. And there were a couple of questions a lot of people were making the same mistakes on, so I wanted to go over a few of those questions just so that hopefully you're feeling comfortable with it. So I got my whiteboard here, and it looked like you were all pretty comfortable with knowing what an acute angle is, an obtuse angle, all those different kinds of angles. That was good to see. Some people were struggling with the idea of complementary versus supplementary. This is really something that you just kind of have to remember. So complementary means two angles add up to 90 degrees. So there's a right angle broken into two. They have to add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary, a straight line, 180 degrees, two angles that have to add up to 180 degrees. So if you have any questions about that, I'll link another video in the description. You can also let me know. People seem pretty comfortable with that, so that was good to see. The thing that people struggle the most with is what do we do when we have two parallel lines and two sets of angles? So if you remember, we have two parallel lines, one line cutting across them. We call this line a transversal. And most people seem to remember that any two angles that are opposite each other, for example, angle 1 and 4, these opposite or vertical angles have to be equal to each other. So for example, if angle 1 is 50 degrees, think what would angle 2 be? Or not what would angle 2 be, what would angle 4 be? Sorry. Angle 4 would also be 50 degrees. Because they are opposite, they have to be the same. You could figure out what angle 2 is because this is a straight line here. So these two are supplementary angles. That means they have to add up to 180 degrees. So to figure out what 2 is, we could do 180 minus 50, and we'd find that angle 2 is 130 degrees. So 50, 50, 130, and then 3 is opposite. It's a vertical angle with 2, so it would also be 130 degrees. Now where this gets tricky is where we have this other set of angles that's a parallel line. And the key with this that I just focus on is since these two lines are parallel, it means the angles have to be exactly the same. But they have to be the same in the same spot. So that means angle 1, think to yourself, which angle would it correspond to among these four? The way I look at this is I see angle 1, it's in the top left corner. Among 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 is also in the top left corner. It also, just from looking at it, looks like it's about the same size angle, right? Angle 5 looks like it's about the same as 1. So these two, same angle. So we know that angle 5 was also 50 degrees. Once you've done that, it's easy to fill in the other one the same way we did that one. Now I'm going to erase this board, give me a second, and then we're going to go into solving a specific problem about this. Okay, so here we have the problem that we're going to be solving. It's very similar to one of the ones on the quizzes that less than half of people got, so I want to go over it right now. I'm going to go, this exact same problem is going to be in your quizzes today, so take notes. This is just a free point if you watch this video. So here we're told that angle 4 is 6y degrees. So angle 4 is up here, that is 6y. And then we're also told that angle 6 is 120 degrees. So angle 6 right here, 120 degrees. And if I were you, I'd have a piece of paper out while I was working on this. I'd label the information we know. So what we need to figure out is what is the relationship between these two angles. Are they equal to each other? Do they add up to 180? What is the relationship? The way I like to do this, and if you have another way, that's okay, but I like to fill in all of the information I have first. So I'm going to actually get rid of the 5 6, 7, 8, all the extra numbers. I know that angle 6 is 120 degrees, so the angle opposite it also has to be 120 degrees. I also know this is a straight line, so these two have to add up to 180. So 120 plus what equals 180? 180 minus 120, this will be 60 degrees. And of course the same is true for this. So for these four angles here, we have two that are 120 degrees, two that are 60 degrees. The ones next to each other are supplementary, they add up to 180 degrees, and the ones opposite each other are equal. However, we're trying to figure out what is y, and we still don't have what y is. So I look at these and see which of these four angles is corresponding to y. And in this case, angle 4, it's in the bottom right side. I'm looking 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting the same down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's looking like this would be 60 degrees. You can see this is in the same part. One's right here, one's right here. These angles are corresponding, they are equal to each other. You can also see both of these are acute angles. It wouldn't make sense that angle 4 would be equal to 120 degrees because angle 4 is an acute angle. It is less than 90 degrees. So we know that angle 4 is equal to 60 degrees. So once you have that, it's just a matter of setting up the math in order to solve for y. So we have 6y equals 60 degrees. And then I hope you can all solve this. It's just a matter of dividing by 6 to get y alone. And we're left with y equals 10 degrees. So that would be your answer right there. So y equals 10 degrees. Many of you may have messed up because the problem was asking you to figure out what y was. Make sure you're always answering the question. If it says what is y, you'd say 10 degrees. If it says what is angle 4, you'd say 60 degrees. So make sure you're reading the question carefully. The other way you could do this is you could notice that these two angles must add up to 180 degrees because 6y corresponds to this one down here. This is equal to 6y. So 6y and 120 have to add up to 180. So instead of doing it this way, you could do 6y plus 120 equals 180. And then solve that similarly. Subtract 120 on both sides. You're left with 6y equals 60. And same thing, divide by 6. Divide by 6. We get the same answer we did over here. Y equals 10 degrees. So that's what I have for you on angles. Make sure you take some notes on this. Watch this video a couple times if you have to. I'll link another video in the description if you need more help. And actually take the time to go through and answer all the questions in the quizzes as best you can, because I really want to make sure we have this skill down. Have a good one. Let me know if you have questions. I hope you have a great weekend. And yeah, I will send out another video next week. Bye.